Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we are on chapter 16, Shlokas 17. Atma Sambhavita Stabda Dana Mana Madanvita Yajante Nama Yajnes Te Damhina Vidi Karunakam. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. Thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority or scripture, the demonic sometimes perform so-called religious or sacrificial rites. And since they do not believe in authority, they are very impudent. This is due to illusion caused by accumulating some wealth and false prestige. Sometimes such demons take up the role of preacher, mislead the people, and become known as religious reformers or as incarnations of God. They make a show of performing sacrifices, or they worship the demigods or manufacture their own God. Common men advertise them as God and worship them, and by the foolish, they are considered advanced in the principles of religion or in the principles of spiritual knowledge. They take the dress of the renounced order of life and engage in all nonsense in that dress. Actually, there are so many restrictions for one who has renounced this world. The demons, however, do not care for such restrictions. They think that whatever path one can create is one's own path. There is no such thing as a standard path one has to follow. The word avidi purunakam means disregard for the rules and regulations. It is especially stressed here. These things are always due to ignorance and illusion. Text 18. Ahan karam balam darpam kamam krodam cha samstrita mam atma para dehusa pradvisanto biya suyaka. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demon becomes envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in his own body and in the bodies of others, and blasphemes against his real religion. A demonic person, being always against God's supremacy, does not like to believe in the scriptures. He is envious of both the scriptures and of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is caused by his so-called prestige and of his accumulation of wealth and strength. He does not know that the present life is a preparation for the next life. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self as well as of others. He commits violence on other bodies and on his own. He does not care for the supreme control of the personality of Godhead because he has no knowledge. Being envious of the scriptures and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he puts forward false arguments against the existence of God and refutes the scriptural authority. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks that since no one can equal him in strength, power, or in wealth, he can act in any way and no one can stop him. If he has an enemy who might check the advancements on his sexual activities, he makes plans to cut him down by his own power. Text 19. Tan aham divasa Quran samsar resu narad haman kispami ajaram asuban asurisva eva yoneso. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me in the ocean of material existence into various demonic species of life. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that the placing of a particular individual soul in a particular body is the prerogative of the supreme will. The demonic person may not agree to accept the supremacy of the Lord, and it is a fact that he may act according to his own whims. But his next birth will depend upon the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not on himself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, it is stated that an individual soul after his death is put into a womb of a mother where he gets a particular type of body under the supervision of superior power. Therefore, in the material existence, we find so many species of life, animals, insects, men, and so on. All are arranged by the superior power. They are not accidental. As for the demonic, it is clearly said here that they are perpetually put into the wombs of demons, and thus they continue to be envious, the lowest of mankind. Such demonic species of life are held to be always full of lust, always violent and hateful, and always unclean. They are just like so many beasts in a jungle. Text 20. Asarim yonim apana muda jamani mam aprapayaiva kunteya tato yanti adhaman gatham. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demonic life, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. It is known that God is all merciful, but here we find that God is never merciful to the demonic. It is clearly stated that the demonic people, life after life, are put into the wombs of similar demons, and, not achieving the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they go down and down, so that at last they achieve bodies like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. It is clearly stated that such demons have practically no chance of receiving the mercy of God at any stage of later life. In the Vedas, also, it is stated that such persons gradually sink to become dogs and hogs. It may be then argued in this connection that God should not be advertised as all merciful if he is not merciful to such demons. In answer to this question in the Vedanta Sutra, we find that the Supreme Lord has no hatred for anyone. The placing of the asuras, the demons, in the lowest status of life is simply another feature of his mercy. Sometimes the asuras are killed by the Supreme Lord, but this killing is also good for them. For in the Vedic literature, we find that anyone who is killed by the Supreme Lord becomes liberated. There are instances in history of many asura, Ravana, Kamsa, of many asuras. So here they're naming the demons: Ravana, Kamsa, Hiranyakasipu, to whom the Lord appeared in various incarnations just to kill. Therefore, God's mercy is shown to the asuras if they are fortunate enough to be killed by him. Text 21. Tri vidam nara kasadam davaram nasan nam atmana kama krodas tatha lobas tasmad atat trayam tayajet. There are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. The beginning of the demonic life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down the species of demonic life must try to give up these 3 enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. Let me see. Text 22. Ater vimukta kunteya tamo davares tribya nara acharati atmana shreyas tato yati param gitam. The man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. One should be very careful of these three enemies to human life: lust, anger, and greed. The more a person is freed from lust, anger, and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. Then he can follow the rules and regulations enjoined in the Vedic literature. By following the regulative principles of human life, one gradually raises himself to the platform of spiritual realization. If one is so fortunate by such practice to rise to the platform of Krishna consciousness, then success is guaranteed for him. In the Vedic literature, the ways of action and reaction are prescribed to enable one to come to the stage of purification. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed. I feel like I messed up. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed, and anger. By cultivating knowledge of this process, one can be elevated to the highest position of self-realization. This self-realization is perfected in devotional service. In that devotional service, the liberation of the conditioned soul is guaranteed. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, there are instituted the 4 orders of life and the 4 statuses of life called the caste system and the spiritual order system. There are different rules and regulations for different castes or divisions of society, and if a person is able to follow them, he will be automatically raised to the highest platform of spiritual realization. Then he can have liberation without a doubt. I'm going to pause here at 23 because I need to end a little early in case Sue's computer doesn't last with the battery.
So, this popped up in my head when, he was talking about lust, anger, and greed.
Yeah.
And I knew somebody who actually, I used to think before I heard the word demon used in this context was demonic. And this person had all 3 things going. A lot of, most of the time. In fact, this person, when videotaped, you know how when you stop at a video, you get to see somebody's expression, just a snapshot of a second, and that's it. All right. Every time I was editing a videotape with a friend of mine before we actually got somebody in who knew what they were doing about editing. And every time this videotape stopped on this person speaking, this person looked horribly angry, like the face had a real rageful expression, even if this person was talking about the most giving and kind things. And it's almost as if this this person was a personification of what this series of slokas was talking about.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is kind of unfair. That's very judgmental. And then I thought, well, it was almost like more a recognition than a judgment, But and then I thought, okay, so what about yourself? And I thought about some stuff in myself. So
yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever I'm judging someone, it's very nice to turn the mirror to face me instead of going down the rabbit hole of judging others.
Yeah. Yeah, I concur.
But I think it's important to learn about these people. I mean, we all know someone like this. Sometimes I was even this person, but it's important because I think the warnings we got in a few of the other books and even in this book of like making sure who you're practicing under, because these people try to pretend they are something they are not, because they become Like if,
See, I disagree when you said sometimes you were this person. No, I think sometimes you exhibited
yeah. That's what
one or two of the
yeah.
characteristics of the demon, but you never were, because I think what these passages said is that it's almost like this person, these people are trapped in an endless loop, and it's only through great effort, maybe some luck, and maybe Krishna taps you on the shoulder saying, you can exit this loop if you want, because it keeps on saying, yeah, well, you're going to come back in the womb of a demonic person, and and you're going to be trapped in demonic behaviors again for another life cycle. So I don't think you were.
That's what I meant. I meant like exhibit. I mean, I think all humans exhibit these characteristics at some point, but it's very tricky to figure out who's exhibiting it, a characteristic, and who's actually one of these people, because they're so tricky. They're so sneaky about, we've all seen people that have built these structures, not just in the yoga community, but in the world, that have built these companies or countries or whatever, and got all these followers. Who's coming to mind right now was I don't know why she's coming to mind, but was the Theranos CEO, that manipulated all those investors into thinking she was creating this product that never even existed.
Yeah. It's interesting because I agree. They can be very tricky and superficially, and in public presentation can come across as something completely the opposite of what they really are. And it's really interesting to watch, because this person used to make introductory speeches at a couple of volunteer opportunities that our agency did. And those of us who really knew this person would stand off to the side and roll our eyes, because very seductive, wonderful public speaker, presented like this world of how you, the listener, could participate in these wonderful giving experiences, et cetera, et cetera. And we'd be rolling our eyes because we had been with this person long enough to know the reality of how she lived and what she was really like, and how far away she was from what she was talking about. But boy, she did a damn good job recruiting people for us, because
Yeah, but I feel like you even have to be careful with those, because then like who knows what kind of people she's attracting. Yeah,
to a degree, although I used to find, since I used to end up running some of the programs she would attract volunteers for, that a lot of the people who came were just plain wonderful. They were great. They just took it on the surface level, because why wouldn't they? They were first being introduced to it. So, even the demonic behavior reaped some really wonderful things. It was good. But, I think also one of what you said earlier, Pam, that was so true, is it is very easy to come up with an example. Like you said, we all know demonic people. We all know people like this, or, you reach a certain age, maybe when you're 15, you don't, but by the time you're 35, you do. And you reach a certain age and you've run across people like this. And it's easy to just demonize them and not think about the demonic behaviors that pop up in your own head and in your own actions. And so the real lesson is, okay, so there are people who are real demons, but you have demonic, not you, but we all have, or at least I have demonic behaviors. Therefore, when they pop up, think about it in terms of this. You're not caught in an endless loop. You can do something about it. So, don't be so judgmental, because you yourself can tap dance to the same dance.
I think that's exactly the lesson. And even because I was in the other course I'm taking, he jumped ahead and read the gunas sort of first before we moved into the book. The gunas being the three modes of nature: goodness, sattva, raja, passion, and tamas being darkness. But when you have these demon persons, do we need to when you're aware, when you're self-aware, like how I feel I'm becoming, and I now approach one of these people, I don't have to meet them at their level. I can bring in goodness to them. Like I don't have to interact with them in such a judgmental, even if it's not physical, even if it's in my mind, because even if I'm saying one thing to this person, but I'm feeling another way, that's still the truth inside. So now it's like when I'm interacting with someone like this, I can take a deep breath and I can be calm and tranquil to this person. I don't have to engage if I feel that they're fake or they're not being true to me. I can, question them or whatever it is I need to do. I can't think of an example right now, but I can engage with, and not just people, but situations in a way I choose I want to, versus just reacting to people. And I think that for me, and that's just going to help me with my karma. And maybe, we lost Domenica. And then maybe those type of things are what that person needs. Like, because and I'm curious to finish this chapter, because how is someone in that loop supposed to break their loop without someone interjecting?
Well, what you just said is very cool, which is, if you see somebody in that loop, I mean, I don't think I would ever be so presumptuous given how the faults that I have accrued, but not to necessarily attempt to rescue them, but your own actions might provide some way to help the person break the loop, even by accident,
Yeah.
Or I would think almost always by accident, because how the hell would I know? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think what they say is there are no accidents. Everything is planned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. Well, it's like the timeless universe. It all exists already, and you just move from one spot to another.
Yeah, it's just this big video game. All right, let's do some breath and meditate, because it's 8:05, and if you need to drop, you drop. So we'll set.
Okay, I am gonna drop now because I'm down to 5%. This means it's gonna shut out. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
Bye, Sue.
Bye, Sue.
Bye-bye. Feel better, Dominica.
Thanks.
Yeah, Dominica. Nice and tall. Take a few rounds of alternate nostril breath. Lying down or sitting up, just creating that straight spine. Taking your right hand to your nose, close the nostril with the thumb, inhale through the left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. 2 more rounds on your own breath. When you feel ready, you'll exhale out the left side, setting the timer. You'll join us when you're ready, 20 minutes. Or if you need to drop, you'll drop. Bringing hands to heart center. Namaste.
Namaste, Pam.
Feel better. Rest.